Hi guys, welcome to a new video. Today we're doing a Q&A. I haven't done one of these before, so I put up a little question box on my Instagram and told you guys to ask me questions. I also did compile some of my YouTube comments of questions that I've been asked. So that is what we're doing today. We'll start strong and go based off of the calorie deficit stuff since I just finished my calorie deficit. So somebody asked, after calorie deficit, do you go back to old maintenance calories or do you find out your new maintenance calories with your new weight after the deficit? So yeah, there's no going back to your old maintenance, because if you were to go back to your old maintenance, you're going to be eating more calories than your body needs, because when you lower your body fat percentage and you're at a lower weight than you once were, your maintenance is going to be different. You don't get to eat as much food. Your body doesn't require as much energy. Food is energy. So when you finish your calorie deficit, you want to calculate your calories based off of your current body weight that you are when you finish your deficit. Somebody asked to talk about reverse dieting and your maintenance. They said it can be hard when your ghrelin is up and your leptin is down after a deficit. So there is really no need to reverse diet. You're just prolonging your calorie deficit if you reverse diet, and you can't gain body fat at maintenance. So to me, there's really just no point in slowly adding calories back in. Your scale weight is going to fluctuate no matter what, because when you start adding calories back in, you're eating more food, your body's going to retain water. You're feeding yourself more carbs, your body's going to retain water. That's going to reflect on the scale, anywhere from 1 to 3 pounds, but that's going to level out. It's going to level out, so there's no need to worry about that. There's a complete difference in gaining scale weight and gaining body fat. So the only way that you can gain body fat is if you're eating in a calorie surplus. There's really no need to reverse diet, because the scale is going to go up a little bit either way, whether you reverse diet or you just start eating your new maintenance calories. The thing that is important is that you continue tracking your calories. You continue with the habits that you were doing while you were in your deficit. If you just stop tracking your calories and you start to go back to the way that you lived before the calorie deficit, that's a recipe for putting on body fat. You know what I mean? So when you start eating your maintenance, you're not necessarily changing anything. You're just increasing your portion sizes a little bit. Maybe you're a little bit more lax and lenient with sweet treats or eating out. You still have your staple meals. You're still participating in those habits that you built. You're really not changing a whole lot. Regarding ghrelin and leptin, this is just gonna vary so much person to person. I always tell you guys this, but I don't have a big appetite. Like truly, I don't have a large stomach capacity. I can't put that much food in my body. I do listen to my appetite, and I would say that my hunger cues are pretty normal. Like they've been pretty normal this whole time, besides maybe the first 2 weeks of my deficit, which is completely normal. When your body's adjusting to eating less food, it's that period that I think is difficult, getting adjusted to not eating as much food, not feeling as full all the time. Because when you're in a deficit, it's normal to feel a little bit hungry. So I think that adjustment period is the hardest time. But then over time, your body adapts, it adjusts. My appetite has been pretty normal throughout my deficit. Right now, I feel like coming out of my deficit, it's hard for me to eat more because I'm so used to the way that I feel, and my stomach capacity feels even smaller than it was before. But I also have to remember that I was overeating a lot. So when I say overeating, I mean eating to the point of uncomfortability. So my stomach being super expanded, going to bed every night feeling super bloated and full. I had been doing that consistently for months. So I didn't really know what normal felt like because I was ignoring my body, which is why intuitive eating helped me so much. So now that I'm no longer in a deficit, I'm still just listening to my body and listening to my appetite. If I'm not hungry for the calories, I'm not gonna eat them. I've gotten so much better at not force feeding food. So as long as I am in a healthy range for fat and protein and carbs, like I'm just gonna eat what I'm hungry for. And then obviously I do like to go out over the weekends to restaurants. I like to drink alcohol, so the calories get made up. That's why I always go off of a weekly total, because it's just easier. So I do plan on continuing my tracking at least for the next few weeks, and we'll see after that. But I think it really depends person to person. It's hard to comment on that because everybody's bodies are different. Everybody's gonna experience a calorie deficit differently, and your body's gonna react differently. I've done this so many times that I know what to expect at this point. I think sometimes people placebo themselves if you think too deeply about these things. Like, I just eat 3 meals a day. I eat when I'm hungry. That's pretty much it. I don't have any appetite regulation problems. That's the best I can do with that one. How to stay consistent and patient in a deficit and trust the process, not rushing to see results. Well, let's start with how do you stay consistent in a deficit. I think the best way to stay consistent is to be organized. Like, you need to be on top of everything. You need to have a weekly grocery haul. You need to have shit meal prepped for yourself. You need to schedule out the days and times that you're going to the gym. Make it a non-negotiable. No matter how you're feeling, it's on the to-do list. It's getting done. It's a top priority. You have to make it a top priority. You can't stay consistent if you have no organization, if you have nothing in front of you to be consistent with. You have to build that. You have to do that. You got to be organized. That is the only way that you're going to stay consistent, is if you set yourself up for success. If you don't do your weekly grocery haul, if you don't meal prep your shit, that's when people start to eat out at restaurants or get fast food, something that's quick. Or if you didn't plan out when you're going to the gym and what time, life gets busy. If you look for excuses, you will find them. You'll find them. We can all find them. I can find a million excuses if I look for them. That's why you have to be organized. Plan your shit out. Plan the days and times you're going to the gym. Plan the day you're doing the grocery haul. Plan the day that you're meal prepping and what you're meal prepping. That is the key. Organization is how you stay consistent. And building discipline. Showing up for yourself even when you don't want to. I can't even tell you the amount of days that I don't want to go to the gym. Like, majority of the time, I don't want to go to the gym. But I have built discipline. It's in my schedule. I show up and I go. And I do something. It's not always 100%. That's okay. But I have built that discipline. It's not a choice. I'm not relying on my emotional status. It's like, you're fucking going no matter how you feel. Unless I'm on my period and I'm not feeling well, obviously then I don't go to the gym. If you're sick, don't go to the fucking gym. Like, you prolong your sickness that way. And as a female, I totally understand. Some people have really bad period cramps and it's debilitating, and the first day of mine is normally the worst, so I plan my workout schedule around that, because towards the middle of my flow it is fine. But yeah, I think that really depends on the person. And then staying patient and trusting the process. This is the hardest part. This is why people give up. Like I said, I've been through so many calorie deficits at this point that I know what to expect. I know that there's going to be weeks that the scale doesn't move. It literally happened to me, guys. I had 3 weeks in a row where my average was pretty much the same. Didn't move, despite the fact that I was being consistent. I'm on point. I'm on point with my calorie tracking, with my steps. Workouts, I definitely was not 100% with them, but I would say 90%, which is what you need. And there were weeks that the scale didn't move. That's gonna happen. That's gonna happen. You have to have patience. This is not a quick process. Sustainable fat loss is not a quick process, but it's so worth it, because the way that you lose the weight is what you have to maintain and keep up with in order to keep that weight off. So if you start running because you think it's going to lead to fat loss, which a lot of times it can, because you're increasing the amount of calories you're burning and putting yourself in a deficit. If you know long term you don't want to continue running, you don't want to lose weight that way. That is the wrong approach. Extremes, the wrong approach. You need to find what is sustainable for you that you're going to be able to keep up with. It is a process. It is a process. I have worked with so many women at this point, and there's going to be months that you make no progress. It fucking happens. It happens. And that's why you don't want to rush this journey, and it's really hard to do it on your own. It's really hard to do it on your own and stay motivated when the scale isn't moving, when you don't understand the science behind what's happening with your body, and having somebody to reassure you and tell you, like, you're on the right track, you're doing things right, just hang in there. Because it can really fuck with people mentally, especially the scale, especially when they feel like they're doing everything right and they feel like they're eating healthy. There are these little intricacies, these little nuances that a lot of people overlook or don't think about. And that's when it really benefits you to have a coach in your corner to help you, because doing it on your own is really frustrating. If you don't have an accountability buddy, you don't have somebody that's in it with you, depending on the environment that you're living in, your financial situation, there's so many different things that factor in that can make it more difficult for people. But the results are gonna come. They are gonna come. You just have to keep being consistent. You can't just give up because it's not happening as fast as you want it to. There's no magical solution out there. There is no specific diet. There is no specific exercise or workout routine that is going to get you the results that you want any quicker, okay? Obviously, you could do unhealthy, extreme shit that's unsustainable. That's not gonna get you anywhere. Temporarily, sure, but in the long run, you are deteriorating your mental health and your physical health. For what? It doesn't make any sense. You have to make the commitment. You have to make the commitment that you are in this for the long haul and that it's a process and you have to have patience. It takes time. It's frustrating. I get it. I've been there. I've literally been there. But the time will pass either way and you will be so thankful that you did it the right way. How to navigate / resist social pressure to eat out when in a deficit and tracking. So how to navigate it, you need to do what's good for you. If you genuinely want to meal out, you're doing it because it's your choice out of your own free will, then there's no need to overthink it. Every time I eat out, it is because of my own free will, because I want to. Not because I'm people pleasing, not because I'm thinking, oh, but if I don't eat out, then they're gonna think like they're gonna make fun of me or whatever. I have gone out to restaurants and not fucking gotten anything, I've just gotten a drink. I don't fucking care. If you're gonna sit there and judge me because I don't wanna eat fucking greasy bar food, I don't give a fuck. You wanna eat that shit? Have the motherfuck at it. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna do what's good for me. It's hard. It's hard if you're a people pleaser. I'm not a people pleaser. Don't give a fuck. Don't give a shit. If you're a people pleaser, you have to practice this. And I have had girls in my program that have major people pleasing tendencies, and that is something that we work on if it's a struggle of yours. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with the choices that you make. Nobody else is going home and ruminating on what you ate or didn't eat. I promise you nobody's doing that. And if they are, then they have issues, okay? But like, chances are nobody is thinking about that. So you're the one that goes home and thinks about the decisions that you made. So if you truly didn't want to eat that greasy bar food, if you truly didn't want to eat, if you truly didn't want to drink 3 fucking sugary ass drinks, that's on you. That is literally on you. And it's the truth. You don't want to fucking hear that, but it's true. Stop people pleasing, especially if you're trying to eat in a calorie deficit and better your mental health and your physical health. You have to make the decisions that you know are going to point you in the right direction. All right? It takes practice. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that it's the easiest thing ever. It definitely takes time. And in the beginning of my fitness journey, I for sure would feel some type of way knowing that, hey, I'm probably not going to indulge in this Domino's pizza that everybody is eating right now. That everybody wants to order Domino's pizza and we're all drunk, and I'm not going to eat that shit because I know that that's not going to get me any closer to my goals, and I don't actually fucking want it. Like, ask yourself that. Do you just want it because it's there? That's hard. That is really hard to get honest with yourself. But 9 times out of 10, like, you're just eating that shit because it's there, or you're inebriated and you're not thinking properly. But it's really easy to do that. It's a lot harder to sit with yourself and be honest. It's really difficult. That's why not everybody is in the best shape of their life. It's not easy. Let's say, like, I mean, this just happened while I was home. Like, my dad wants to eat out, or my dad wants to cook some shit that I don't want to eat. I'm just honest. I just say, listen, I don't want that. I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat out. I want to eat my meal at home. Straight up. That's it. That's it. You create all this uncomfortability and this rumination by making this a bigger thing than it actually is. And I mean, see, my parents are used to this now. Like, they're used to my lifestyle, the way that I live my life. And in the beginning, it's difficult. You got to create those boundaries and you got to practice. Of course, the conversations are a little bit uncomfortable at first when you're not used to it, but you have to be firm. You have to stick to your boundaries and do what is good for you, and explain this to your family members, and hopefully they're supportive. Like I said, your environment plays a huge role in your success in a calorie deficit. If you don't have people in your corner supporting you, being non-judgmental, or secretly wanting you to self-sabotage, like, that's difficult. That's really hard. The only thing that you can do is create boundaries. You can create boundaries in your life with yourself and with those around you. I mean, like, resisting eating out, like, it's just like has no appeal really when you enjoy the meals that you eat at home and you are like, it's harder when you're not physically fit and you don't know what that feels like. You don't know what it feels like to be like peak health for yourself. it's harder to want to continue eating healthy because you're not really reaping those benefits yet. But I can tell you, I feel a million times better when I'm eating my staple meals. Like, I have no fucking desire to eat fast food. Like, what the fuck is that gonna do for me? It really just doesn't even taste that good. Like, you get to a point when you are so used to the foods that you eat and your digestion feels good, you have energy, you look fucking great, you're not bloated and retaining a ton of water. You want to keep things predictable for yourself because you like the way that you feel and the way that you look. There's nothing wrong with liking the way that you look. That's a big part of it. A lot of people want to get in shape for aesthetic reasons, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the better that you feel mentally and physically, the less that you want to eat fast food or constantly eat out or drink alcohol. Like, as much as I love the feeling of being drunk, alcohol, we all know it's not great for us. I still do it, but I know the negative effects I'm gonna have afterwards, and I still choose to do it sometimes. So everybody's different. To me, there is no resisting. I just literally don't fucking want that shit anymore because it doesn't make me feel good. So yeah. Body image in comparison and how that affects eating. Well, this is like, personally, I never am thinking about other people's bodies and that dictating what I'm eating. I eat what is good for me, what I enjoy, what I like. I really can't answer that because I have never looked at somebody else's body and thought, oh, I need to eat this to look like that. That's not how it works. Like, that's really not how it works. There's no point in comparing yourself to other people because everybody has a different set of genetics, environment, finances. What is the point? There's literally no point in comparing yourself to anybody else. Everybody's bodies function differently. You need to do what's good for you. Emotional eating, no, I don't really emotionally eat because I have other outlets and I can emotionally regulate myself without looking for external factors to help me. That's a huge problem that people have, is that they haven't done any inner work. They are so afraid of sitting with themselves. At the end of the day, emotional eating is just a habit. It's just a habit like anything else. And the more you do it, the more you strengthen those neural pathways in your brain, which makes it harder to stop doing it. So the only way that you stop it is to sit with yourself. Sit with yourself, sit with those thoughts. It's not about resisting the urge to eat a bunch of food when you're upset. It's sitting with those thoughts, processing what's actually going on. What is actually going on? What is truly gonna make you feel better? Eating a bunch of fucking food is ultimately gonna make you feel worse. So it's a matter of not participating in those behaviors. Ignoring that mental chatter, sitting with yourself, ignoring that mental chatter. Fill your time with something else. Find a healthier outlet. Takes practice, like I said, but the more you practice not giving into those urges, you're weakening that neural pathway in your brain and you're undoing that habit. So fill that with a better habit. Go for a walk, call a friend, put on a movie. Have you ever lost your period in a cut? There's a lot of questions. I'm not gonna be able to answer all of them, but have you ever lost your period in a cut? No, I have not, because I have never done an extreme calorie deficit. I've always done a reasonable calorie deficit where I'm still eating enough calories for myself. The problems typically arise when young girls that are already at a low body fat percentage want to take it too far. Like, that's the problem, is you're comparing yourself to other people online and thinking that you need to be leaner and you need to look better and you're not skinny enough. You don't need to be eating in a fucking calorie deficit when you are already at a low body fat percentage. Like, now it's a matter of acceptance. It's a matter of acceptance and not pushing yourself to these crazy lengths that are just unnecessary and will deteriorate your mental and physical health. You shouldn't lose your period if you're eating in a moderate calorie deficit, if you have no other medical health problems going on, obviously. But too much caloric restriction, not eating enough fat, not eating enough calories in general, and over-exercising, all of those things can lead to you losing your period. So if you're taking a sustainable approach, you really shouldn't have a problem. For cardio, like walking or biking, what's better, time or distance? I would say distance. Like, I don't fast walk. I think the only time that time matters is for runners who are training for marathons and whatnot. But if you're just the average person, distance over time is more important for walking or cardio. If you can walk 5 miles at a leisurely pace where you're not overexerting yourself and sweating, if you can do that for 5 miles instead of fast walking and you're only able to do 2 or 3 miles that way, obviously the distance is going to be better. Like, you really don't burn that many more calories by fast walking. How many calories do you consume on days when you don't work out? I eat within a calorie range, so it really depends. On days that I don't work out, I'm typically not as hungry, so I won't eat as much. But of course, if I'm not as busy, sometimes I tend to board eat because I'm just sitting around and have nothing to do. So on the days that I go to the gym, sometimes I'm busier and I don't have as much free time to be board eating or thinking about food. So it really depends, honestly, but I just listen to my body and eat what I'm hungry for every day, regardless of what type of workout I'm doing. Do exercises just utilizing body weight do anything for toning, like squats without added weight? So toning, that word comes up a lot. Toned just means that you have built muscle and you're at a low enough body fat percentage to see that muscle. So if you just lose body fat and you're not doing any type of strength training, you will be skinny fat. Like you will have a skinny fat body type if you have no muscle underneath the fat that you lose, which is why it's important to lift weights. Yes, you can build some muscle doing body weight stuff, but obviously there's going to be limits to that. It's the same thing with Pilates. Like, nothing is going to be as effective as weightlifting when it comes to building muscle and how quickly you're able to put on muscle and progressively overload in those things. You're more limited when you're just doing body weight stuff. So weightlifting is the quickest way to put on muscle, and it's important to lift weights for females, especially for your bone density, and there's a lot of health benefits to lifting weights besides just aesthetic purposes. I think once you put on a certain amount of muscle, you can maintain it doing a lot less. Like, obviously I have put on a lot of muscle over the years going through many bulks and cuts, and I did do body weight workouts for a while because sometimes it's nice to give yourself a break from the gym, but I definitely did lose some muscle when I took that break. Because like I said, weightlifting is just the most effective way to build muscle, maintain muscle. Yeah. There's no specific exercise that you can do that is going to make you toned. Toned is just a matter of being in a low enough body fat percentage, losing enough body fat, and having muscle underneath that you have built. Okay. Is it true that putting yourself in too low of a deficit can lower your metabolism, and how to fix it? So lower is not the word that I would use here, but damage is the word that I would use here. So if you are basically starving yourself, you're really trying to eat practically nothing, obviously that is going to wreak havoc on your body and really affect your thyroid health. So you don't want to do that. Everybody's metabolism is pretty fixed for the most part, unless you do extreme shit that causes you health problems. And in that case, how do you fix it? Well, eating enough food, eating enough calories, not being afraid of carbs and sugar. Okay, you need carbs and sugar. You need both of those things to have a well-functioning, healthy metabolism, despite what anybody says. You can read the book, More Calories In, More Calories Out. Look that up on Amazon. It's by Dan M. at Cows Eat Grass. Okay, I read this book. If you want to learn more about your metabolism and how it works and how to make it as effective as possible, that book really breaks it down and explains it. So I would highly recommend reading that book if you are interested in that. But your metabolism doesn't just stop working if you eat in an extreme calorie deficit. So like, I know people think starvation mode, like that's a myth. That is a myth. Your body doesn't just store fat because you're not feeding it, but you can severely damage your overall health by undereating and underfueling yourself, obviously, and cause yourself a lot of medical issues. So how to fix it is to just manage your stress, eat enough food, eat enough calories, don't cut out food groups. You need everything. You need a little bit of everything. When you first started a calorie deficit, what was the hardest part of it? The hardest part of the calorie deficit is always the first 2 weeks, because it's really those mindset shifts and getting used to feeling a little bit uncomfortable, feeling a little bit hungry when you go to bed. It's an adjustment, but after like 2 weeks, it's pretty smooth sailing. You just get used to it. It becomes your new norm. Just like I had gotten used to overeating and going to bed feeling bloated and uncomfortable every night. That became my norm. I got used to that. So if you're also doing that, it's going to be uncomfortable when you first start eating in a deficit, but as long as you stick with it and you just keep at it, it will get easier. If someone's number one goal is to gain muscle, is it optimal to bulk? Yes, I would say yes. If your number one goal is to build muscle, you would benefit from being in about 100 calorie surplus. You don't need to put yourself in a huge surplus. I think a lot of times people will dirty bulk, if you will, which just leads you to put on a bunch of unnecessary body fat. Like, really, your training is the most important. Progressively overloading and making sure you are fueling yourself properly with enough protein, carbs, sugar, like I said. Combination of everything. But if you're really trying to put on muscle, it is the exercise portion that is extremely important, paired with enough protein and enough calories. So 100 calories over your maintenance is more than enough. I'm only gonna do a few more because I have a meeting soon. I'm gonna answer other questions from a YouTube comment because there were a ton of questions and they're really great questions. So, have you ever regained weight after a deficit and how to deal with that feeling of loss? Like, you worked so hard and now it's gone. I mean, of course I've regained weight after a deficit, like pretty much every time, because I go through seasons of life where I care less about being lean, and I go through seasons of life where I care more. Like, in the summertime, of course, I care a little bit more about what I look like, and I enjoy having a lower body fat percentage, being leaner. I'm also moving around a lot more, which makes it easier, and food is just not my number one priority in the summer. Like, I feel like most people eat healthier during the summer. You're eating a lot of fruits. A lot of people are growing things in their gardens, and it's more appealing to want to eat healthy when you want to look good. You're going to the pool, you're going to the beach, and naturally you gravitate towards those things. I think during the wintertime, obviously the holidays, when you're eating a bunch of cookies and baked goods and a bunch of big dinners and meals, like, that's the time where I'm always more lax and I care less. So I'm fully aware that I'm going to put on some body fat during that period, but it's never a huge amount. Like, for the most part, I fluctuate between, like 7 pounds, probably the most. If we think back to this past year, I was about 134 pounds and now I'm like 127. So I would say the range that I fluctuate between is like 126 to 135. So, and some of that is water. You have to keep that in mind. Some of that is water. Like 3 pounds of that, probably water weight for me, not body fat. So big difference. But I don't ever do like DEXA scans or any of those scans to see what my body fat percentage is, because I don't fucking care. That information is completely useless to me. I don't give a fuck. Most of the time they're not accurate. That information is not going to do anything for me. I don't care to know, because I just go based off of how I feel, how I look, how my clothes fit me. That's it. How you found that this is the job that you want, and if you considered any other careers. So I originally wanted to be a therapist. So I went to school for psychology, and I actually did a few months of grad school, and then I dropped out because I was just done. I was done with school, but I still really like psychology. I still read a lot of psychological research and books because it interests me. But yeah, I'm so glad that I ended up not going into that field, just because I think it would have been very mentally taxing. And I still get to help people in a different way. And I think because of my psychology background, I have a different understanding and approach than a lot of other people in the fitness space. Like, I understand the human brain and how it works and people's behaviors. And I think it gives me just a different outlook. And I do have a lot of empathy for people and understand, but then also I know the facts, I know the science, I know the truth. How you found out this is the job that you want? How I found out that this is the job that I want? I had a lot of friends, family, people, just people that I met in my life, always commenting on my physical fitness and just saying, like, how do I, like, you look so great, like, how do I do that? I had so many people constantly asking me like what I did, because obviously when you go from being overweight to being in great shape, people want to know how you did it. So I was constantly being asked for advice on what people can do, and I just figured, why not make a career out of it? I always wanted to help people in some capacity, so now I get to do that physically, and I have a lot of knowledge to share, and it's crazy. It's crazy to think back to the time that I didn't know any of this and how this stuff is not common knowledge. It's crazy, but honestly, I started posting on social media and I didn't really know where it was gonna lead me. And a few months in, I decided I'm gonna open an online coaching business, which was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. After working a 9 to 5, I would make my videos, edit my videos, start working on my business. I hired business mentors and I had to attend trainings and do a lot of things in order to get my business up and running. So it was definitely a lot of work, but very rewarding. Like, I love it. I love coaching so much. But yeah, that is the other avenue that I would have went down. I would have continued grad school and became a therapist. Fitness influencer trends you don't agree with, like all whole foods diet or all carnivore or all intuitive eating. I'm trying to think about what is even trending. Like, I try not to pay attention to any of that shit because I really don't care. Like, there's so much bullshit on the internet, and I don't consider myself a fitness influencer. I literally hate that term. I think it's so corny. I'm not an influencer. I'm not influencing anybody to do anything. I'm sharing my experience. I'm sharing education, knowledge, things that should be common knowledge to people that aren't, and I want to help people understand and learn so that they can apply these things to their life. I'm an educator. Like, that is, I would prefer to be called an educator, because like influence, people are going to do whatever the fuck they want to do, no matter what. You can't force anybody to change. All whole foods diet. I mean, hey, if that's what you want to do, if that is sustainable for you, that's great. That's awesome. If you want to strictly eat, you know, meat and rice and vegetables and fruit, great. If that makes you feel good, that is awesome. If you genuinely do not enjoy indulging in meals out, not because you're restricting it, not because you have an unhealthy mindset, you genuinely just don't want it, okay, great. But I like to meet people where they are, because majority of people are not going to do a complete 180 of their lifestyle. They're not just going to, if you have been eating fast food every day, I know you're not just going to do a 180 and start eating strictly whole foods. So if you start following fitness influencers that eat only whole foods and you want to be like them, you're really setting unrealistic expectations for yourself, because yeah, maybe you do that for a few weeks, but then you end up binging because you can't stick to just eating only whole foods. So I think taking it one step at a time, cutting back on the fast food, like this is what I have my clients do that come to me that are eating a fuck ton of fast food. I just have them dial it back a little bit, slowly start incorporating more whole foods, and eventually you get to a point where you're like, oh, I feel so much better. I actually feel a lot better, and I really don't even want that shit anymore because it makes me feel like garbage. You got to get there yourself. You can't do it just because somebody's influencing you to do it. If you don't genuinely want that change, it's not going to happen. So that's why I think meeting yourself where you're at and just trying to be a little bit better every day, that's the best approach. Not what somebody else is doing. We're all different. We are all different. All of you guys know I used to eat a lot more processed foods. I used to eat out a lot more than I do right now. I used to eat a lot more packaged shit because that was convenient for me in that time period of my life. Now I'm in a time period of my life where I have my own home. I have control of the groceries that are coming in and out of the house. I have free will to go eat out if I want to. So it's completely different. I want to eat whole foods for the most part. It does make me feel good, and I do enjoy a nice steak dinner out. Yeah, that's where I'm at in my life right now, where I don't need quick on-the-go things. I'm not in college. I'm not in between classes. I'm not running in between jobs. Like, it's just, there's just so many factors that go into it. So I think not comparing yourself to what anybody else is doing online. Same thing with like any of the trends, any of the fad diets. I just don't recommend doing any of them, because everything, like, you should be eating everything in moderation, in my opinion. Like, just from my own experience, the hundreds of people that I have worked with, watching my husband do different diets, he has always tried different things and experimented. And I've experimented with some things, but at the end of the day, 90-10 or 80-20 rule is the best. It's the most sustainable, allows you to enjoy living your life stress-free. All right, this is the last one I'm doing. Being on social media and how your friends and families have reacted. Honestly, nobody cares. Like, nobody fucking cares. Nobody gives a shit. My dad doesn't watch any of my shit. I think my mom watches some of my stuff. Joe, he likes my videos, but I'm sure he doesn't like sit through and watch all of them. It's normally like new people that I meet. If I say like, oh yeah, I'm on TikTok, and then they look at my TikTok and it's like, oh my God, you have so many followers. And I'm like, not really. Like, I don't know. I guess I don't have like an ego from social media. I don't care. I don't identify myself with attention that way that I think a lot of other people do, and a lot of big creators, they start to get a huge ego, and I don't have that. I think that my community is very small, and I have a lot of like-minded people that watch me who are also like anxious, don't really care to comment, don't really give a fuck to comment. Yeah, they like watching my stuff, but they don't really give a fuck to comment, and that's all right, because I'm the same way. I watch people's stuff and I don't fucking comment. I just don't really have anything to say, and there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. So I think that's why my community is the way it is. And I mean, yeah, I would like a little bit more engagement and to be able to engage with my followers. I do have some followers that always comment on my things, and it's nice. I mean, it's nice to know that I am making an impact and I am creating some social connections, because this job can be very isolating and lonely because I don't get much interaction from it. I'm not going into a job, you know, I'm not training people in person. Of course, I talk to my clients, which I absolutely love. I love talking to my clients and helping them. Like, it's the best thing ever. But from a social media standpoint, I really don't get anything from it. I really don't get satisfaction from it. I don't get an ego hit. I really don't get much from it. I do it for other people to educate and help other people, and there really is not much return on investment there besides, yes, of course, I get coaching clients from my videos, from marketing. People see my videos and like what I talk about, and that way is how I get clients. But yeah, I think because I don't give it so much value, that my friends and family and other people around me don't really think much about it either. It's just like, oh, that's just her job, you know? I'm not caught up in it. I think that's the best way I can describe that. I think in the beginning I was excited when my videos were popping off and it was new, and it was a great time in my life. I had such a dopamine rush from getting more followers and getting engagement and having videos go viral. Like, of course, that's instant gratification. How can you not enjoy that? But for the most part, my shit is pretty relaxed. Yeah, I think my friends and family don't really care. I mean, it's not like they have ever made fun of me or been unsupportive. Like, everyone's just neutral, I think, because I'm neutral. You kind of set the tone. I think if I was over the top and like obsessed with it and had like a fat ego from being on social media, my family would probably be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And my friends would totally be fucking cringed out. It's just not in me. It's not in my personality. So yeah, that's that. All right, I have my meeting, so that's all I'm answering. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your question, but I'll do another one of these again in the future. So I hope that you learned something. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment any other questions that you have and I will answer them in the next Q&A that I do. But please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.